is up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York, and on the phone, we got Patrick from Mountaineer. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah. It's so awesome to have you here. The new album, Bloodletting, which is scheduled to come out on the 22nd of May. Do you just want to give like a rundown on how the making of this record was and the recording and all that fun stuff?
We spent about a week, actually take it back, 2 weeks, about 2 weeks in the studio, up in Hercules, California, New Tone Studios, with our friend Ben Hirschfield, who engineered it and was, I guess, kind of co-producer, I suppose. We tracked all the drums in about a day and a half, and then spent the rest of the time doing 7,000 layers of guitars, and there's like a bass track in there or two. Yeah, it was a pretty smooth process. There wasn't very much drama. We had a pretty clear picture of what we wanted to do, and just knocked it out. It helped that we worked with Ben before, and he knew our work ethic and our style, so
Awesome.
it was smooth sailing. Good. It was good experience.
Awesome. Was maybe like, for people who may have been listening to you guys, from like the Sirens and Slumber days, or maybe even like the Passages album, like, is this continuing like a similar sound, or was there maybe a little bit more experimentation incorporated in there?
This is easily our most, this album is easily the heaviest. Our one that you could easily call, more easily call a metal album. The other two albums, Passages, Sirens and Slumber, they're a little bit lean more on the post-rock, post-metal side. There are a lot more clean vocals on those albums. No double bass from the drums, whereas this album is actually going to have a little bit of that. So yeah, this is heavier. This is I think each album has gotten progressively more doom and more just more aggressive.
Yeah, and you mentioned that was kind of like a preconceived idea on how you wanted Bloodletting to sound like, or was there any aspects of it that it just kind of happened that way?
It just kind of happened that way, honestly. We added a couple new members to the lineup, because before it was just me, Clayton, and Miguel. Miguel, the vocalist, Clayton, guitarist, and I play drums. And then we added Forrest and Isaac and Dylan, guitar, bass, in that order. And with their contributions, it naturally, kind of organically, became a heavier album. We're all metalheads at heart. We've all grown up listening to all kinds of stuff, just going back to like thrash and Storm Troops of Death and Type of Negative and that kind of stuff. But we also like the pretty music. So when we were writing everything, we just kind of accidentally leaned towards this heavier tone, and it just worked out that way. And with more people that involved, that kind of wanted to hear that heavier stuff, that's what ended up happening. So it was both preconceived to make a heavier album, but it also kind of organically came about. That's really the best explanation I can give.
Yeah. Did you? And you mentioned like, 'cause I remember being a drummer. Like you mentioned that like the last album didn't really have any double bass on it, but like so I'd imagine that with this album, did you almost kind of like have to change how you approach the music as a drummer, incorporating more different techniques and everything like that? Did it almost feel like you felt like a different type of drummer than what you did previously?
Not really, honestly. It's very subtle. I mean, I tried to. I played in a lot of metal bands and things like that over the years. In this band, I've always tried to just keep it simple. Never do too many flourishes. No massive fills. Nothing like that. I think this time around, I was actually able to do a little bit more. I feel like the drums are a little bit more of a feature this time around than they were on the previous two albums, where they're more of a timekeeping device. Previously, which is kind of the drummer's job, but now we're kind of exploring the more musical aspect of what drums can do and how they can make a song heavier. So I didn't have to change too much, but I did feel like I was able to do a little bit more than before. So I'm happy with it. I think it wasn't anything I was pushing for. It just kind of ended up that way.
Yeah. As a drummer, do you prefer to have music to write the rhythm to, or do you sometimes lay down an entire rhythm pattern or something like that, and the rest of the band will write over that?
A little bit of both. There are a couple songs where I had some rhythms in mind, and Clayton had a guitar riff that he liked, and I tried that rhythm that I had come up with and just layered it over, and if it worked, we kept it. There were some things where there's actually a track that Clayton wrote the drum part for, and he's not a drummer by any stretch of the imagination, and he just did it in Pro Tools or whatever, and we, after having written all the guitar parts and drum parts, with the drum beat that he came up, the part he kept with it, when I started playing stuff, it just didn't sound right. So we just kept this really basic, beat that he came up with. So, it's there was for the most part, it's just I have an idea and Clayton has an idea, and we see if they fit together. And that's kind of how that goes.
Mm-hmm. Now, for the latest single off the new album is "The Weeds I've Tended." So, can this also almost serve as maybe a clear representation of what the entire Bloodletting album will sound like, or is this kind of just the tip of the iceberg?
I'd say it's more of a tip of the iceberg. It's a good representation. It's a good starting off point. I think "Shot Through with Sunlight" is the better overall representation. And I'm not sure if you were able to hear that one yet.
I did.
That one is the better representation of the album as a whole. But I think lyrically, and just kind of as a thematic device, "The Weeds I've Tended" has a better representation of what we were trying to go for, with the ideas and the concept that we were trying to convey with the album. So that's why we've chosen these two songs to release. One captures the sound, the other captures the theme.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I almost consider, I know you say you took a heavier direction for this, but I almost feel like this album, and really just Mountaineer as a whole, is a fairly experimental band, because I thought "South to Infinity" is very different from a song like "Apart" or a song like "Blood of the Book." So it almost seems like trying new things is almost part of what Mountaineer is all about, right?
Exactly, yeah. And And this time around, with having 3 more heads in the room to help write, there was a lot more experimentation, a lot more, just a lot more ideas to play with. Because, with Passages, it was just essentially me and Clayton and Miguel. And really it was Clayton did a lot of the heavy lifting on Passages as far as writing went. So this time around, having Isaac, picking up a lot of the songwriting, Singing the Forest, like there were a lot more ideas that never would have shown up if we just didn't have the people.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to experiment more, and that's exactly what Clayton and I are all about. We love coming up with songs. We're constantly experimenting with riffs, with ideas, with everything.
Yeah, well,
it was great.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people, like, I talk to about this, they'd be like, oh, this band sounds a little bit more like Neurosis, and then people would say, no, it sounds more like Alcé, and then, no, it sounds more like Baroness. I'm like, that's a pretty broad, like, essences of comparison there as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing that, especially with this release. People reviewing have been saying that you can pick a sound and associated with some other band, and it's just been a multitude of bands. And they're coming up with these big names too. It's like, wow, it's really flattering to hear. It's like people say, oh, it sounds like Baroness, because I love Baroness, or it sounds like Alcest, or someone mentioned Swallow the Sun. And it's so cool to hear all these people coming up with these associations, and it wasn't intentional, and it's also really kind of validating because, I love those bands. I wanted to make music like those bands for forever. It's as a musician, you want to live up to the people you look up to, and when people start saying you're making music that sounds like them, but it's wholly unique, it's really, really gratifying. It makes a person feel good.
Yeah. What's your favorite Baroness album?
Yellow Green. Honestly, that one's such a solid album. When that came out, I couldn't stop listening to that for like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, Purple is still my favorite album, the 2015 release.
Purple is good. I was a little disappointed with it because it just wasn't as expansive as Yellow Green.
Yeah.
I mean, it was Chlorine and Wine is such a beautiful song, and I love that video they did for it.
Shock Me, I think is the best.
Shock Me is a good song.
Best Baroness song ever. I'll say that right now. So
yeah, I can't disagree. I mean, they haven't released a bad album really. I mean, you could say, Red album was good, Blue was good. I mean, they're a phenomenal band.
Yeah. Did you listen to the newest album from last year?
Gray Gold.
Yeah, Gold and Gray. Yeah.
Gold Gray. Yeah. I haven't. I have it. It's been sitting on the desk. It's still wrapped.
You need to. All right. After this interview's over, I'm gonna hang up the phone. You need to make that your first priority. It's amazing.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll write it down. I'll go right on listening to it.
Yeah. Well, we just digress. But
That's cool.
One other question I have on the album. I saved the hardest question for last. If you're ready.
Yeah.
All right. So you have a song like Blood of the Book that's just under 7 minutes long. You have a song like Apart that's 4 minutes long. You have a song like South to Infinity that's 8 minutes long. How do you know when a song is done?
That is a hard question. There's a it's going to sound silly, but there's like a feeling of resolution once you've written as much as you can for essentially you've gotten enough ideas out in the ether for a song, and then you've arranged them in the order that you want to hear them, and then you've played through them and you've chewed out all the fat and trimmed everything that you can down. Played through it again, and you go through that process enough. There is a feeling of resolution once you stop, where that feels like a good stopping point, and that's generally how we've come up with our songs, is how it feels once we've completed it. Do we need to revisit another part in that song to really resolve it? Do we need to extend a part? That's kind of how we just feel it out, really. Mm-hmm. I think is the most succinct answer.
No, that was a very good answer, I gotta say. Yeah, I'm not sure if you were winging it or not, but it was pretty damn good, I'm gotta say.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So
I'm just looking at our process, and that fit the best.
So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. The new album's awesome. I look forward to hearing more from you guys. Is there just anything else that you would like to promote that's not at the risk of getting canceled or postponed at the moment?
Man, with everything going on, there's no shows happening. I'm in another band called Dustin. We got an album coming out in July. I think July 27th or something like that. I don't remember, but if you're into like Lady Scrub or Alcester, that kind of French Doomgaze, shoegaze type of stuff, maybe check that band out. I don't know. Isaac, who's a songwriter, he's in a band called Dogma, Gaxma, and they just dropped an album last year, which is phenomenal. And that's more just funeral doom. Okay. So you can kind of maybe hear some of our other influences and see how they fit in for fun if you wanted to. But
well, once
other than that, there's no shows, no tours because there's the virus.
But I'd imagine that once this whole shit clears, we could maybe be seeing you on the road. Can maybe be coming to New York one day.
Yes, that is actually our plan. We had talked about doing a tour for this album because Mountaineer hasn't toured since Silent Slumber, and then the virus. So that's postponed probably next summer.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
I guess. Yeah, man. My pleasure.
Of course, everybody, we are here with Patrick from Mountaineer. Bloodletting out May 22nd. Buy it down when supplies officially last forever. And we'll see you next time on Heavy New York.